Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is Don with the DIY Collaborative, and
Alice.
it's time to clean out the greenhouse, and hopefully you saw that video if you've been following our channel a couple of weeks ago where we started bringing everything out that's been overwintering in that greenhouse. And it's time to do what this video is really all about, geranium care and maintenance. And I'm going to let Alice take it from here and talk to you a little bit about what we're doing today.
Hey everybody. So this is a necessary evil. You have to get everything out of the greenhouse and clean it all up, and that's what we're doing. Let me back up and tell you the history of the geraniums around here. So for years we always just picked up geraniums from one of the big box stores, warehouse stores, whatever, and they're fine, and we'd keep them all summer long and they'd do okay, and then they'd get really tired, and by the dead of summer they're not blooming, they're just trying to survive, they don't have any blooms on them. We're just trying to kind of keep them alive until fall hits, and then they have one last hurrah, and then we usually just don't keep them because I don't know, they're just not great plants. And so last year Don got the idea that we should grow our own, so we set up a grow room.
And
what
is it that you say? Well, it's all an experiment?
That's right, it's always all an experiment for sure, but this really paid off.
So it was one that we really were surprised with the results on.
It was amazing how well these did. So we planted the seeds in just some small pots, in the house, and built them up and everything. And then they went out to the greenhouse, and then they hardened off. And then we put them in these their final pots, and we just wanted to keep them in these really pretty kind of Mexican pots. They're from Mexico, and they're whatever the pottery is. That's what it is. But anyway, I love them in there. But we potted these up and kept them all last grow season outside, and they did great. And then they wintered over in the greenhouse, and they've been loving it in there. They did really well, still blooming, but getting unruly. So this is basically, okay, you're coming out, you're going back into the landscape, and everything needs a good cleanup. And so what's happening in this video is just going pot by pot and doing some trimming. You can see that I've been trimming. There's some dead coming out of this. Trimming it up, checking for disease, checking for pests, checking the soil, and of course the soil needs recharging. So
because even though it was 0 some nights outside here in Dallas, it was nice and toasty in that greenhouse.
Oh, so they were loving it. Yeah. They were absolutely. As a matter of fact, this particular plant, this is a little bit different, and this is the only one we have like this.
Yeah, I was going to say, this doesn't look like your normal geranium, does it?
No, and there's different geraniums that you can have in different zones, different areas, but this in particular is an ivy. This one, the seed packet was called Tornado Mix Ivy Geranium, and it grows very differently. It has a really different structure, so it is specifically just like an ivy. It has a real pretty leaf. It's a little bit different. It looks more like an ivy leaf. It's kind of got more of a point structure to it than a rounded structure like most of the other geraniums that you see. So anyway, it's pretty cool, but it needs room to sort of spread out. So that's why, excuse me, we need a cough button here. Mm-hmm. But that's why it's a little, you just have to kind of pay attention to it and see where you're cutting, and you don't want to be cutting off something that's got new growth on it. So anyway, but I just kind of took each of these pots and looked it over really good, gave some trimming. Let's see, right here I am adding just a little bit of fertilizer, and I don't know if you did it. Yeah, I think it already showed me kind of getting in there with a trowel and reworking the soil a little bit, loosening it up from around the pot. I mean, we could, you could always just repot it, and you could even repot it back in the same pot. But this soil was in good shape, so I just felt like I could just get in there and kind of zhuzh it around, and then add some nutrients. And I took part of the top layer of soil because there was a lot of debris and stuff anyway, and matter on the top, so I took that off on a lot of them, and now I can add new soil to the top after I fertilize it. So anyway, so this is just sort of going through each pot and checking and seeing what all we can we're running into here, and just getting everything cleaned up, and then it's ready to go back out in the spot where we really like to have them and see them and everything. So enjoy it.
So Alice, what is that fertilizer that I saw you using? I think I've seen you using like several different kinds of that around the garden and in different some of the beds and things. So what is that exactly?
Well, this in particular is it's called Plant Tone, but it's an Espoma product, and it's a granular, slow release type fertilizer. So when I put this in, like in a pot like this, it's going to last for quite a while. Now, we water a lot. I mean, this stuff's it's so windy. We have to water quite a bit. And of course, we've got to handle watering all this stuff. We don't have it anywhere where it's like on a drip line or anything. So it does dissipate. But, if we keep adding this just a little bit along throughout the grow season, that's sort of how it works. So, but you could use any of their tones, really work great. If I was repotting, I might use Biotone, which has a little more oomph to it, but this is Plant Tone, and it's just kind of a general fertilizer, if you will. So. And
I think they have different size bags, but you prefer this size because it's easy.
Oh, it's easier for me to handle. We may have talked about it before, but I had shoulder surgery a few months ago, and it's just try not to lift things that are too heavy. So
we'll see about that.
Yeah. Anyway, but I'm better now. So I'm getting full strength back. But anyway, yeah, those bags are just, I think I want to say that's an 8-pound bag. But they come in really, large. I think they're like 30-something pounds.
I think I've seen them,
ones.
The larger size.
So
we'll put a link in the description to the name and everything, and where you can get some of that from. We really like it.
Yeah, it's a good product for sure. So I wanted to point out this particular variety. I don't usually like pink geraniums, but I do like this one. And this one in particular, I don't know if you can see the leaves that well, but it's considered a bullseye. And this one I think they call the bullseye salmon. And the leaf is really interesting. It's green, and then it's got this interior area that goes almost kind of burgundy. It's got a dark center, and then it has the outline is kind of green, the margins on the leaf. So besides it being just a great looking bloom, the leaves are really interesting. So we had several different varieties, some bullseye salmon, maverick coral. I love coral. And then some reds. We had a maverick scarlet. And I don't know, we had one that was a Ringo deep scarlet, and I don't know that one actually made it. But we ended up with, you can see we have a lot of different color variations. So anyway, it just ended up being a really good, like this one is just a super bright. This also has an interesting leaf color to it as well. And this one, maybe this one's that deep scarlet. I don't know. Anyway, but I love them all.
Yeah, that's the color that we used to always get from the big box stores, I think.
It's
just all of them were that color.
It's always, well, they don't have very much to choose from.
Right.
I have always loved that coral. I think it's coral color. That's always been my favorite, and I shy away from white. I just, some flowers, white is
well, they
good.
seem to be all right for a minute, but then it's like, they're getting kind of tired and dirty looking.
Dirty,
maybe,
yeah. Once the blooms start to go, I mean, I think that's in almost any kind of species. It seems like, not all, but a lot. And the only good thing about white or really light color plants, what I love about them is in the evening when, at dusk, they tend to show up better. Like if you have them in a container or out in the landscape, they kind of pop, whereas everything else is fading, into the darkness. They're still sort of there and, charged with light. So I don't know. I think that's why you need a lot of variety for sure. Okay, so on this pot, there's much scrutiny going on here because I found some damage on some of the leaves.
What do you mean damage? Like me breaking something? Or?
No.
Oh, okay. You had me scared for a minute there.
No. I found, well, actually, I don't think it's on camera, but I found a worm who was kind of curled up in a leaf. Anytime you see any kind of webbing, or if the leaf looks like it's curling or doing something weird. Okay, so see, like right in this spot right here, and you got to check these leaves that are underneath. See all that damage? That's somebody was munching. So that has to go. And so what happens is that really makes me, and I should inspect all of them this way, but really makes me look under the leaves, all around it, because you just never know if something's hiding, up underneath. And they tend to get under the leaves, not on top.
So does this whole plant get voted off the island now, or do you do something special with it?
So I can't remember if it was this one.
Because I thought you put one of these in quarantine.
I did put one in quarantine, and I'm thinking it was this one because I wasn't sure if anybody was living and hanging out in the, down in the soil. But like I said, I did find one worm and got rid of him. So this one in particular, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the one I put in quarantine for just a little bit. And, oh, okay, yeah, here I am using my app and trying to identify what was going on with it, because sometimes, even it, even if there is, there's a bug thing, there could also be a disease thing. Why is that bug, picking on it? Is that bug transferring something to it? So.
And what app is that?
I use, what is it called? PictureThis. PictureThis. I actually do pay for it, but I think it's worth it because it's a really good database of plants, and you can also identify insects. I think it even has a bird identification feature, but it diagnoses stuff.
That's cool. Let's be sure and put that in the description too, because I see you're using this all the time, and I'm like, hey, come here and bring your app over here and tell me what this is going on with this plant or
sometimes
tree.
When we're at other people's houses, and
yeah, that happens a lot too.
Trying to identify stuff, or they're like, here, come here and look and see if this is a weed or what's going on. Anyway, yeah, it's been a good thing. It's like $30 a year. I think it's $29.99 a year. So anyway, but I like to use it, and it gives me some confidence. So, here we go. Trimming. Anyway, but I just wanted to bring up that. Okay, so I think it's important to mention that this really big pot actually does have some geraniums in it that we bought.
We just couldn't resist it, huh?
Well,
We go to these nurseries around town, and sometimes they have what we call the manager special, and it's the plants that I think they're getting ready to throw out, and we just can't stand it. We think we have to save them.
Right. So that's how this one ended up. And I'm amazed it even has a bloom on it. But again, it was living in the greenhouse and it really loved it in there like all its other. See how many plants we have inside there. I really should probably separate that out at some point. There's either 2 or 3. I don't know. But, so we do have some like that. But I think because it was already such a big established plant when we got it, that's how it ended up in this huge
And
pot.
isn't this where we were talking about earlier? Or yeah, you're she's checking to see where I'm at, and if I'm not around, she's going to move it herself. She's supposed to be taking it easy on that shoulder surgery.
So okay, I think that look was, okay, nobody's around to help me, so I'm gonna just go ahead and move this over here. I can get up underneath it, and I wasn't using the bad shoulder or the fixed shoulder, I should say. So I think that's really what that look was about.
But you're still busted.
In my okay, I'm busted. I don't know. I did okay. I think I did okay. Everything turned out okay. I think pushing that cart was harder than anything.
Well, that's my old crackly cart, not your fancy new one.
Not my one with my big rubber tires. That's so much easier. Anyway, that was a fun day. It really took a long time to get those straightened out, but they were good for the season. I did go back and look up the size of those bags, and they're actually 4-pound bags. So that's why it was so easy for me to handle them.
Oh, is that the fertilizer?
Yeah, I thought they were 8-pound bags, but they're 4-pound bags. But that's okay because I like that size. I can haul it around.
Even better.
Yeah. So anyway, so we like to put the geraniums in this little kind of, well, it's shady right now because it's in the morning, but
well, isn't it really the Sage Leaf Studio patio?
Sure.
Okay. Or were you not wanting to talk about that yet?
No, that's fine. Okay, so Sage Leaf Studio patio. This is our just a little extra garden, little sitting area that Dawn created for us last year, and I just love it. We sit out there and we can, the chairs are facing west, so we sit there and watch the sunset. Maybe have a glass of wine or whatever, and it just happens to be by my studio, alleged studio / storage shed.
Well, it started out as a she shed.
No, it never started out as a she shed. You just always call it that. But anyway, so that spool table is where we decided is just a really good place for those geraniums, and it just takes me a while to kind of figure out. I should go back and look at old pictures because last year I really liked how I had them placed and everything because we've got different colors and I don't want the same colors next to each other. But I did want to also mention, and I didn't mention this when I was talking about pruning, which I did a hard prune on most of them, just really dug in there and got a lot of dead out and any gangly things. But when you're deadheading geraniums, and I've had people ask me about this, and I've seen people do this the right way and the wrong way, don't just reach over there and grab the head once it's mostly spent all of its blooms, because then you're leaving that stick, the stalk.
Yeah, like that stem sticking up.
The stem is sticking up. And, your plant is trying to send energy everywhere it can. Anything that's alive on it, the blooms, the leaves, the stalks, the stems, whatever. And if you leave that stick there, it's trying to send energy to it, and nothing's going to happen again. That stalk, that stem, that's the only time that stem's ever going to bloom.
That makes sense.
So if you'll just be gentle to a degree and patient, and when you see, an entire bloom head that you want to get rid of, just follow that stem all the way down to where it's coming out of its main stalk, or there's only so many larger stalks down in there. And there's usually, especially if it's a pretty big stem, there's a nodule right where it meets where it came out of the stalk. And if you'll just gently kind of push on it, it just pops off.
Okay.
And that way you get the whole thing out of there. You don't go back and you look and you see all these, because they do die. And so then there's this brown stick sticking up. So that way you're just, you're cleaning it up as you go. And sometimes if there's like half of a head, is already spent, but the other half, maybe the blooms aren't even open yet, I'll, gently kind of pick off some of the yuckier looking ones and leave the rest of the head on there.
So it's better just to pinch those off instead of cutting them off with a little pair of nippers?
I mean, you could.
Shears? Okay.
Well, and like I was saying, taking off those little bitty bits.
Because some of those things are pretty formidable stem or a stalk, aren't they?
Those are, yeah. But if you do it right, now, if it acts like it's bending instead of popping off, then definitely go get your nippers and nip.
Right.
Because something's going on, with it. But.
So I've always heard too on the like your little pruners or your nippers or shears or scissors or whatever that you're doing, and it may not be the same thing for the geraniums, but are you supposed to like sanitize them or sterilize them between each plant? Because like you were talking about earlier, that one you were going to put in quarantine, should you use the same tools on the ones that are healthy versus the ones that are not?
Well, the gardener's answer is yes, you should always sterilize even between cuts on the same plant.
Right.
Did I? No.
Okay, well, I didn't know. I mean, I do it sometimes depending on what it is that I'm doing, and if it's blatantly obvious there's a disease or something wrong with it, then I do it. And I even have a special pair of little clippers in my belt. I don't know if you saw that a while ago when I walked by the camera, but that I use specifically for that. And I keep a little Lysol spray can in my little pouch that I can sanitize those with, like on the fly. But I think some people use like rubbing alcohol or whatever. So
yeah, and that's a good idea. And do as I say, not as I do. I'm pretty bad about it, but I will say that the one thing and the reason that one plant went into quarantine was really more about that bug that I found.
Right.
And I was worried that, they were going to transfer.
Right. It wasn't so much anything wrong with the plant necessarily. It was just what was in there eating. And
it didn't look diseased to me at all.
Okay.
It just, but I knew there was a pest.
I was just curious.
And so I was more worried about that. But you're right. Yeah. You really should. And you should take better care of your nippers than I do, because even today I was, pulling staples with mine. So.
Right.
That's maybe another video. But anyway, so this was fun, just kind of talking about the geraniums. I'm excited for our geraniums for this year. They're up. They're a few inches tall. Actually, one's already got buds and is going to bloom. They're different colors. One of them I remember is a burgundy. So I don't know what that means in the geranium world. So I'm excited for that, to see what that looks like. But and we should give an update, in another video at some point.
So I know we did the seeds, and we were real happy with how these came out this time. And we used to do, big box store plants and have immediate satisfaction, if you will. But I'm wondering, and maybe we talked about this one time and we never did do it, can you take cuttings off of geranium plants or, propagate them or whatever it's called and get them to start like that? Or is it better just to go straight to the seeds or get a plant?
I think that's a question for you, because I have never, with geraniums, I've never had any luck doing that. Uh-oh, puppy.
It's our alert dog in the background. Well, I was just curious because I don't think that I've ever tried it on
I feel like there was a time when I, accidentally maybe broke off a fairly decent size hunk of a geranium.
Right.
But I don't know that I did anything other than try to stick it back in the dirt.
Okay.
And make it.
Well, a lot of the cuttings that I do, I'll either propagate them in water, or I'll take and dip them in a little bit of rooting hormone and put them straight into some.
And you have a lot of luck with that with other plants,
right,
too.
salvia and some of the things like that.
I don't know. I mean, it's something we could mess around with.
Okay.
I would have to read up on it.
I was just curious.
Let's watch a YouTube video about it. I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, this was good, and there they still sit. This was several weeks ago actually when we shot this, so things are a lot different looking out there now. But the geraniums stay because that's exactly how I like them to look. They look great. I check them every day. We water them pretty much every day. It's been so windy, and they really, they don't want to be like sopping wet, but they don't want to get too dry. I mean, you want to check, and if it's dry, at least, like an inch down or more, you definitely want to get some water on them. So we try to kind of keep an eye on that, and they'll need, some fertilizer later on, maybe in about a month. I might sprinkle a little more in there, or maybe I'll even do like a foliar, like a wet. And look, it must be nearing the end of the video because I've sat down.
Maybe it's break time and somebody forgot to tell all the workers.
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
That's okay. That's what this is out there for.
All right. I think we need to wrap it up. But anyway, this was fun. Do you have anything else to add about geraniums?
No.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
All right. Well, hope everybody enjoyed it. Hope you stuck with us and learned about geraniums. If you have any questions, obviously, in the comments, let us know and we'll try to answer them. And if you have any ideas or know about things that we didn't mention, please let us know and we'd love to talk about it. And that's all for this. And I guess we'll see you in the next video.
So that was Alice and
Dawn
with the DIY Collaborative. We appreciate you stopping by our channel. And hope that you liked the format of this video. We tried to change it up just a little bit and have it be more like a...
We're pretending it's a podcast.
Well, it's kind of like a podcast. It's just something different. It seemed to flow quite well. But let us know what you think down in the comments. Give us your questions if you can. There's a lot of good, useful information and links that we'll put down in the description. And we appreciate you stopping by.